It always seemed to take longer to climb to the top. It was hard to tell if the guys were looking forward to the day off or just angry that they had lost 2 hours. 2 hours into the 12-hour shift, the methane alarm went off. I still had the 4 checkers and their detonators in the yellow bag hanging on my shoulder. No blasting was planned for tonight, and now I was tied to the bag again. The warehouse where they kept the dynamite under lock and key would remain open for exactly as long as it took for the guards to check their daily ration. I would take the yellow bag home with me again. It was a real pain in the ass, but the difference in pay made up for the inconvenience. So I grabbed my clothes from my locker and headed for the door. I could make out the gray clouds billowing over the mountains to the east. By the time I crossed the parking lot, Marty had already warmed up the truck and was ready to go. "Damn it, Travis. I don't understand why you can't get an old beat-up truck for you to drive." "You know I can't afford it, because I'm paying for Donna's Mustang. I'm living in the poorhouse. It's not easy to feed 3 kids and support a wife who demands a lot of money." "You're the most submissive guy I know. She's had you wrapped around her finger since elementary school." Marty was right. Donna became attached to me when we were both kids. She was pushy and bossy, but she was the prettiest girl in the whole neighborhood. I put up with all her crap just to be with her. Somehow it got out of hand. As soon as we pulled out of the parking lot, it rained relentlessly. It was a dark, cold rain. You could tell it was going to continue for most of the night. The only good thing the rain did, in my opinion, was to wash away the coal dust from the world. Of course, the farmers thought otherwise. The wipers on Marty's old F-100 flapped hard and left big streaks on the windshield. The crack on the passenger side, as usual, started leaking onto the dashboard. Yes, it was just what I needed, an old, shabby truck. It was only a 15-minute drive to the trailer park. When it rained, the whole place turned to mud. It would be nice if they would at least sprinkle gravel on it every once in a while. All we needed was a down payment to drive out. The problem was that every time I put some aside, Donna found something to spend it on. "I'll pick you up this time tomorrow." "Thanks, Marty." Marty and I grew up together. Neither of us planned on working in the mines, but it ended up this way. He was going to join the Air Force, but they wouldn't take him without a high school diploma. I wanted to be a certified auto mechanic. That didn't work out either. "Listen, Travis, where's the Mustang? It's hard to miss a bright yellow car except when it's not there." I just shrugged and walked through the door as he drove away. When I walked in, all 3 of my sons were sitting on the floor in front of the TV. "Where's your mom?" Todd, an 8-year-old boy, just looked at me and shrugged. "When did she leave?" "About 10 minutes after you left for work." I got the distinct feeling that I was interrupting their TV watching. "What was she wearing?" "Her red dress." One thing I knew for sure, she wasn't wearing that dress to go to the supermarket. It was low-cut and went up to her knees. I have to say, she looked good in that red dress. I put the canned goods in the refrigerator. Tomorrow will still be good. "Did your mom feed you before she left?" Todd was the only one who answered my questions. "No, I made dinner." "What did you guys eat?" "Cocoa Puffs." All 3 of us seemed to be glued to the TV. It was obvious that I was an unwanted distraction. In my opinion, Todd wasn't old enough to keep track of himself, let alone his younger brothers. Terry was 6 and Sean was going on his 3rd year. "Todd, if you get a chance, put clean pants on Sean. It's pretty obvious he peed his pants." I could hardly believe a 3-year-old hadn't been potty trained yet. Donna was the kind of mother who believed children should be raised on their own. I had a quick beer and went to take a leak. It was pouring outside, but I had an overwhelming urge to go look for my wife. I wondered where I'd find her tonight. 4 years ago, everything was fine. Donna had started seeing her friend Martha Lou. At first, it was only once a week while I stayed with the 2 boys. While she was pregnant with Sean, the relationship slowed down a bit, but it resumed after he was born. When I worked the night shift at the mine, she had a babysitter come over while I worked. About 6 months ago, she started leaving them alone. Marty was right about one thing. I was in a subservient relationship. The whole time I was with Donna, I let her call the shots. She always made the decisions about what we would do and where we would go. I really had no say in anything. She was such a pleasure to be around that I was willing to endure anything to make her happy. I think that was my problem. The best part of our relationship was the sex. I had more sex than any other guy I knew, and it was good sex. To be honest, I did try to limit her extracurricular activities, but failed miserably. Donna's dad had been a deputy sheriff when we got married and was elected to the county sheriff's office shortly thereafter. He never liked me. He made it unequivocally clear to me that I wasn't good enough for his only daughter. I realize now that he was right. I couldn't provide for her the way she demanded. One night, before she was even pregnant with Sean, I went to one of the local pubs and tried to get Donna to come home with me. I made no secret of it. Her father showed up less than 10 minutes later. Donna's father was a large man and belligerent as hell. He pinned me against the wall in the middle of the bar and informed me in front of 100 people that if I ever touched his daughter again, he would beat the shit out of me. Donna managed to calm him down, and she did indeed leave with me. That was the last time we discussed her running around. After Sean was born, she seemed to enjoy doing it just to piss me off. A famous person once said, "All people live in quiet desperation." I don't know who he was, but he was a smart guy. I looked at my 3 sons lying on the floor and decided I didn't want to do it anymore. It was still raining. "Mom, it's Travis. I need you to do me a favor." Mom and I had always been on good terms except when it came to Donna. She had a sixth sense and never really bonded with my wife. Donna was smart and beautiful, but Mom thought she was mean and couldn't be trusted. I guess she was right. Everyone was right except Travis. "Why aren't you at work, boy? How are you going to feed those 3 cubs if you quit your job?" "I don't. They closed again because of the gas leak. I need you and Daddy to come and get the kids. I have to go away for a while, and I don't want to leave them alone." "Where's your loving wife, boy?" "I'm not sure." There was a pause on the other end of the line. "Do what you gotta do, son. You know your daddy and I will always be there for you." "Thanks, Mom. Sometimes it's good to have a family." Donna had a cell phone, but I decided not to call her. The boys were still glued to the TV as I put on my jacket and grabbed my yellow bag. I pulled an old army poncho over my head and walked out into the rain. My sons didn't even seem to notice me leaving. Now I wished I had the old truck Marty had joked about. It was less than a kilometer from the trailer park to the main street. As soon as I stepped onto the pavement, the going got easier. Soon the rain made me feel even worse than I was. My poncho only reached my knees, so my jeans got soaked in the first 10 minutes. For some reason, my left sock ended up wet. I mentally made a mental note to wear waterproof boots again when I had time. The poncho kept my head dry, but the rain was whipping in my face. Every few minutes I had to wipe off the water just to look out. Most of the bars, naturally, were on the other side of town. It was a strange town. There were railroad tracks on one side of the main street and stores on the other. Of course, the stores were closed now, that is, the ones that were still working. The streetlights were all working properly, and you could see the raindrops falling on the shop windows. 2 cars stopped and offered me a ride, but I just waved for them to pass. The southern part of the city ended just before the interstate highway. The last place that was still open was Joe's truck stop. There used to be a Joe's coffee shop here before the highway was paved. It served good food and hot coffee. The truckers loved it because diesel was always a few cents cheaper than the big guys. Between where I was and Joe's, there were at least a dozen bars and half as many motels. On a night like tonight, I didn't think Donna would want to drive too far. All I had to do was find a yellow Mustang. Too bad I couldn't afford to hire a cab to take me around town. The rain poured steadily. The thunder seemed to subside, but the water remained. The first 3 bars were small, dingy places where mostly older people sat and sipped from the same glass for an hour at a time. Donna wouldn't have frequented such establishments, but they were still worth checking out. I stood on the street and looked out the windows. The hot spots were further down the road, where neon lights seemed to flicker in the humid air. My left foot was soaking wet and starting to get a little cold. I moved on, scrutinizing the cars. They all seemed gray until you got within 50 meters or so. The night rain must be playing some kind of trick on your eyes. I'd never noticed it before. The traffic circle was the most popular spot in town. When Donna and I went out, we always ended up at the roundabout. I finally got to it after going through a few more cul-de-sacs. It was big enough that I was forced to go in. I stood at the end of the counter, soaking wet as a miserable dog. "Damn it, Travis, you look like shit! What the hell are you doing walking around in this weather?" Walt was a good bartender and owner of the carousel. He walked over to me with a smile on his face and held out a dry bar towel. "Don't move, Travis. I don't want to have to mop the whole damn floor." I wiped my face and ran the towel through my hair. Even with the hood of my poncho up, my hair was soaked through. When I handed the towel back to him, there was a dirty rag in its place. I looked around the room and saw only 100 people and Martha Lou. There were 2 guys with her, but it looked like she was alone. "She left about 20 minutes ago, Travis." I handed Walt the empty bottle and nodded, just to let him know I heard him and understood. "She was with Alvin Pittman. He usually goes to Whispering Pines because they have a parking lot out back." I threw the hood of the poncho back over my head, nodded to Walt again, and headed out the door. The rain had subsided, but it was still coming down. Lightning flashed far to the west, and the rolls of thunder had almost subsided. It was only a 10-minute walk to Whispering Pines. I caught myself shaking my left leg every 50 meters or so. The yellow Mustang was parked right next to Alvin's King Cab dual pickup. There were no lights on in the back parking lot. I guess there was a reason for that. I was only there for about 5 minutes. I was good at my job and proud of it. The walk back to the roundabout seemed to go much faster than the walk to Whispering Pines. The rain had turned to a fine drizzle, so I took off my poncho before I went in. It was obvious that Walt didn't know how to approach me or what to say. He was a good guy, and I know he didn't want to be remembered as the man who brought the bad news. He had no idea what I was up to. I smiled lightly at him to reassure him and asked the waitress to invite Martha Lou in. "What's up, Travis? Why the hell aren't you at work?" I could hear the sarcasm in her voice. It was all I could do not to punch her in the face. "Where is she, Martha Lou? Where the hell is she, Donna? And don't bullshit me." "Well, I think she's at home with your kids. Isn't that where she's supposed to be? Maybe you should go back there and mind your own business." Walt sensed the tension and handed me a beer, trying to lighten the mood a little. I drank half the glass and leaned into the bitch. "I'm going to find her and kill her, and any guy she's with. Do you understand?" Suddenly, all her arrogance was gone. Martha Lou seemed genuinely flabbergasted. That simple statement was completely against my character, and everyone in the neighborhood knew it. Walt looked a little shocked, but I noticed a slight smile appear on his face. I said, "Do you understand?" Martha Lou nodded, but didn't say a word. She was always quick with her lines, but not tonight. As she headed for her table, she looked back at me twice. I handed Walt the empty glass. He insisted on shaking my hand before he left. He'd never done that before. Across the room, Martha Lou was frantically talking on her cell phone. I picked up the poncho outside the door and tossed it, along with an empty yellow bag, into the trash can next to the bar. I wasn't trying to hide anything because I wasn't going to stay here. I was sure the mine was going to go to hell for unaccounted dynamite, but I wasn't going back there. So I figured I had about 10 minutes to get to the truck stop if I walked fast. The Joe's was busy as usual. The asphalt was still wet, but the damn rain had stopped. I had to talk to 3 drivers before one of them offered me a ride. Houston seemed like a wonderful place to me. Just as we pulled onto the highway, there was a loud explosion about half a kilometer away. We watched as an orange balloon and black smoke rose upward, which were visible even in the dark. My driver uttered a few words that I seemed to have missed. He didn't notice the smile on my face as I looked out the window. Afterward, I had no problem getting a job at the Pasta de Conchos mine near Palau. They were happy to get a certified blasting technician after losing several men. I seemed to have helped them fulfill some of their insurance requirements. The yellow Mustang disappeared without a trace, along with my beloved wife. They held a memorial service, but there was no casket. Alvin was thrown across the parking lot by the blast wave and ended up sprawled on the wall of a dumpster. I felt sorry for Alvin, but at least he had a funeral. I don't think I can go home again since there is no statute of limitations on what I did. Since blasting is a federal offense, the ATF is also interested in finding me. This summer, Mom and Dad are bringing the boys. At least I don't have to wonder anymore.